Hola amigos, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I should introduce myself. My name is Melissa and my husband and I moved exactly a year ago to Malaga, Spain from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And we came here for his job and we have been loving life. So my video today is a different one for me. I just got a new GoPro, so I thought it would be fun to strap it onto my bicycle that I just bought and have a little cycle through Malaga and take you along with me. I had some requests from friends on doing a walking tour of Malaga, which I intend to do, and that's the reason that we bought the GoPro. But I thought this would also be a fun idea, and maybe I'll just walk you through where I'm going and what you're seeing as we go along, and also just talk about things that are happening here and give some more information about Malaga. So we live in the Soho neighborhood of Malaga, which is to the south side of this main road that you see here on my right. And we love it. It's a smaller area and it's very cozy. It's pretty central, and we're actually smack in the middle of two different east and west beaches in Malaga. So today I'm biking my way over to the beaches that are on the east side of Malaga. So that includes Malagueta and La Coletta, and also Banos del Carmen, which we will see later on. As I'm editing this, I've left the ambient sounds on a very low volume so you get a little bit of a feel for the vibe and the sounds of the city, and I think that adds a little something to the video, but hopefully you can still hear me speaking well. So right now I'm cycling down what is supposed to be a bike lane, but people don't realize this because it's not very well labeled, but there are little steel bicycle symbols that are embedded into the pavers on the street, and they're not obvious, so I don't totally blame the pedestrians for not knowing this. Other areas of Malaga have much better marked bike lanes, but I end up having to somewhat aggressively ding my bell constantly because people are in my way, and I tend to just let them pass and kind of zoom around everybody when I can, as you can see, just because I know that it's not obvious, so I don't want to be too aggressive about telling people to get out of my way. At the same time, I do have the right of way as a cyclist in a bike lane. So now we are passing along the Alameda Principal, which is the main road that runs through the lower portion of Malaga. And on the right is where you would go to enter the port area. And when we go straight ahead on the left, you won't really see it from here, but this is the main access to the Cathedral of Malaga. This area has a more labeled bike lane, and people still don't seem to realize that. On the left is AC Malaga Palacio, which is one of the bigger hotels in Malaga. It also has a really nice rooftop bar restaurant. Now we're entering a dedicated bike path that runs along Paseo del Parque. I love biking through here because it looks like you're biking through the jungle. This is one of my favorite areas of Malaga. It's so lush and green, and all the monsteras there on the left and the palm trees. It just feels so tropical, and it's pretty narrow, so sometimes it gets a little tight when there's people coming at you, but I do enjoy that this is a dedicated bike lane that's kind of blocked off on both sides, except for the crosswalks where sometimes sort of dazed tourists end up crossing in your path, but mostly it's really beautiful to bike along here. You can just cruise along. I'm not sure what these people were doing. I think they were trying to figure out where they had to go. On the right side is the main road, that's the main bus terminal for a lot of the roads in Malaga. We're coming up on a spot where I'm now joining up with the main road, but I'm still in an independent bike lane. The building on the left that you see is the Museo de Malaga, which is an art museum. It's an 18th century building. After that is one of the buildings for the University of Malaga. And a little bit ahead on the left, we will be coming to the town hall for Malaga. There are some horse-drawn carriages here for tourists. I'm not a huge fan of these. I don't love using horses in this way, but tourists seem to really like it. This is a tricky spot where you have to cross the road, and it's not that busy of a little road, but sometimes cars don't stop, so you have to be on alert here. So on the left here is the Bank of Spain building. You can tell it's a bank because it looks very secure and fancy. The next building here is the Malaga City Hall. It's such a beautiful, iconic building. And of course, it's very well manicured and maintained, so that makes it look really nice along this section with the beautiful parks right there. And on the left here, you'll see that the hill goes up very straight, and at the top of this hill is Gibraltar Castle. It's quite a hike to get up there, but it's more so it's just really steep. It's not that far. It probably only takes a half an hour to hike up. But it's definitely a place to check out if you're in Malaga, because the views from up there are the iconic ones. Most of the photos of Malaga that you see are probably from that vantage point because it overlooks the entire city and it's super beautiful. Here we have another, what I would call, dedicated bike lane. It's just part of the sidewalk, but this yellow tape is new in the last couple of weeks, and I like it because it definitely alerts people that it's a bike lane, although not everybody gets it, which you will see later on. But yeah, it's a pleasure to bike along here now that it's a little bit more clear where the bike lane actually is. The stone building on the left of the glass building ahead is actually one of the most historic restaurants in Malaga. It is Casa de Vinos La Odisea, and it is over 300 years old. Apparently that building was slated to be torn down a while back, and the family decided to make it into a restaurant because that would give it some extra protections under the historic zoning rules of Malaga. So it was rescued, and apparently it's a really nice restaurant, but I haven't gone there yet. We'll have to try it one of these days. I don't always respect the traffic lights when I'm on my bike or walking like these people. If I look and there's no traffic, I just go. Most people here seem to do that, and I've never noticed or heard of anyone ever getting ticketed for jaywalking. So as long as you're not actually obstructing traffic or being unsafe, it doesn't seem to be a big deal here to just go ahead and walk when the light is red. But on my bike, I'm a little more careful just because there's more going on when I'm biking. This is one of the busier intersections in this section of Malaga because there's a couple of roundabouts here, and it is sort of a converging point for a couple of roads. But I'm glad they have bike lanes, so it makes it much easier to navigate around, because if you look at a map, we are entering Calle Redding, I believe it's called, and this is a street that kind of runs a little bit diagonally through Malaga. This guy did not stop for me. This is a really cool little stretch too. So on the right coming up is the bull ring of Malaga, which is now mostly just a concert venue, but it's a round building where they used to do bullfights. I don't think they still do bullfights in the bull ring, but don't quote me on that. I haven't looked into it. But along this little section of sidewalk is really beautiful with the canopy of trees. I love it, and it's such a nice reprieve on a hot day when the sun is beating down so intensely. On the left here on Calle Redding is where I actually bought my bicycle. I think we already passed it, but it's a beautiful little shop called La Bicicleta. They rent bicycles and also sell them. My bike was ordered from Italy custom, and yeah, I definitely recommend checking them out. It's two Italian men that work there, and they are so lovely. They do speak English, and I really had a good experience shopping there. On the right is a parking garage for the bull ring, and this is now running towards the water. The bike lane is facing south right now, so we're heading to the beach now. We kind of cut across the city, and now we're cutting down towards the shore again. There are more quick ways to get to the beach by just biking along the street. There's a lane that's marked 30 kilometers per hour that is shared with cars, and it's priority for bicycles and scooters ahead of the traffic. But I'm just not overly comfortable biking there. I will if I have to. Some places just don't have bike lanes to access it, but in this area I can zoom up and around a little bit and stay in the bike lane, so I just prefer to do that. This is entering towards the beach, so you'll see more palm trees, blue sky. We're getting there soon. And I don't love this section because the bike lane just kind of randomly ends and then you're on the sidewalk. And because there's no bike lane, pedestrians kind of have a free-for-all here, so it's a little bit confusing. And I'm also new to bicycling, especially in an urban environment, so sorry if this makes you a little dizzy. I'm still kind of wobbly getting going here, but it's getting easier. And now you'll see the yellow lines are back, so for a very short section there's bike lanes here. And then it's just going to end and we need to cross the main road with the pedestrians who are walking in my lane. I don't love this part. It's probably my least favorite part of the bike ride, but it gets us to paradise, so it's something that I put up with. I think I will just fast forward through this boring bit. Alright, and away we go. This is a little chaotic trying to get through the throng of pedestrians. I don't know why they didn't set aside a specific spot for the bike lane like they did in other areas. It's kind of silly because there are a lot of bikes that cross here because now we are on the bike path that runs along the Paseo, which is the boardwalk, so to speak, of Malaga. This area has more defined bike lanes, but as you can see, people still don't clue in, and it's not super obvious. I'll give them that. If you're not from here and you don't know what this blue line means, it might be less obvious. I think those were bike police. I'm not sure. I think that guy was complaining about people walking in the bike lane. I couldn't tell what they were talking about. But it's a fairly busy spot for bikes and scooters, and it's such a beautiful jaunt along here. Oh, I just love it so much. And today was a beautiful day. It was, as you can see, not a single cloud in the sky, no humidity, which is odd for Malaga, especially as we're coming into the hottest part of the year. And there was a nice little, I want to call it a chill. It wasn't a chill because it wasn't cold, but you know when there's just that crispness in the air because there's no humidity and there's not much of a breeze, and it just has that really nice little fresh feeling, and I could smell the salt water, and it was the perfect temperature for biking. I want to say it was maybe 23 degrees out, which is the lowest it's actually been lately. It's been incredibly hot, unseasonably hot here in the last month or so, but we had a little reprieve this week, and this was the absolute perfect day for a cruise along the beach. On the right here is one of the chiringuitos. As you can see, it's a beachside restaurant. Some of the chairs and tables are on the sand, and I don't know if you can't see it from here, but maybe on the way back you'll be able to see. Usually outside of a chiringuito they have what looks like a steel boat, and it's actually a fire pit where they cook sardines and other kinds of fish over the coal fire, or no, wood fire I think it is actually. You can smell them when you're on the beach and it's glorious. It just smells like a bonfire, but add in a little bit of that fishy cooking smell, but in a good way. And it's really good. And I actually tried espetos, which is what you call the sardines that are cooked on a skewer over fire, and they were delicious. Definitely recommend trying that if you're into fish. And on the right here again is another chiringuito. This is very native to Malaga and the Costa del Sol. It's unique to this region. I'm sure it's more of a thing in other areas too, but the term chiringuito and the idea of the espetos, the sardines on a skewer cooked on the fire, is very native to Malaga. The beach is not very busy today, but it was a Tuesday, so naturally that makes it less of a busy day. And I don't know if school is completely done yet or not. I think this might have been one of the last few days of school for the summer, so maybe that is another reason that there aren't as many people out. The water was pretty calm today as well. On the right you see there's a couple of huts. Those are public bathrooms. There's not a lot of them around, but enough if you need it. It's just such a calm, pleasant place to bike along because Malaga is incredibly flat until you get to the mountain, which you saw earlier. There is elevation there, but the center part of town is built on the flats by the water. So most places that you go, there is no elevation whatsoever. Yeah, on the right there, that little hut, that's where they cook the espetos. So we're getting to a little bit of a narrower spot along the beach, and we're actually at Playa Caleta, which is the second beach away from the center. I prefer this beach over Malagueta, which is the main beach, the first one that's closest to the center, because naturally Malagueta gets a lot busier because it's closer to the center and a lot more tourists there because they don't tend to adventure out as far as Playa Caleta. Coming up on the right, you see a green roof, and that is an example of one of the fire pits where they cook the espetos. You'll be able to see the smoke here in a second. Can't see very well, but you get the idea. The easiest way to access this area if you don't have a bicycle is to either walk, of course, or to catch a bus. There's really good bus coverage on this side of the city and everywhere in Malaga, so it's an easier way to get here if you don't want to walk too far. And it's not that far, really. It might be a 20-minute walk. So I like that on the beach there are sections where there's little grassy hills where you can sit, and those trees aren't very well grown up. They're tall, but the leaves are short, so they don't provide a lot of shade during this time of day, but at least there's some grassy spots where you can sit. It's been so much fun having a bicycle. I feel like because we don't have a car, it's opened up a new world of adventure for me. Especially in the summer heat, there's only so many places that are enjoyable to walk to from our apartment. But having a bicycle means that you're moving faster, so you can withstand the heat a little bit more. And I'm really enjoying it. And there are a decent enough network of bike lanes in Malaga, so if I'm careful about how I plan to get somewhere, I can get to a lot of places through using quite a few of the bike lanes. Not all of them, as you saw, are super well labeled or well respected, but they exist, which is helpful. I prefer not to bike on the road as much as I can. Although I do find so far, when I have biked on the road, the cars are very respectful of bicycles. I think in general, just because it's so much busier here, there's so many more pedestrians, cars are much more tuned to watching out for people and bikes and scooters and motorcycles even. There's a lot of motor scooters like Vespas, mopeds, that kind of thing. So people are just much more used to watching out for that compared to what I'm used to in Canada, where you hear almost every day that a pedestrian was hit by a car because, I don't know, people just don't seem to be as good about watching out for obstructions. But here it's so far not been an issue. I'm sure it happens, but it doesn't seem to be a huge problem. This section is a bit rocky along the coast. I don't know if there's sand there when the tide is low. I think not, but it's really nice because you're actually super close to the water biking along this stretch. And I love that it's less busy along here usually. You'll see some pedestrians, but it's not as crowded. Mostly because there's no sandy beach here. And even though I'm biking along a road, I don't feel like it's really that obvious. I guess just because of the separation and because you're by the ocean and with the trees and stuff. I don't know, it doesn't feel as obtrusive to have the traffic there. And I like that they moved the bike lane onto the road here because it gives more space for the pedestrians where there's a bit of a narrowing in the sidewalk. It feels safer too. On the right is an outdoor gym. there's quite a few of these around Malaga, and I like that because the weather's good here for most of the year. Working out outdoors is a really practical idea. And amazingly, I do see a lot of people out using it, and I even see quite a few seniors out, which just makes me smile. You see an elderly man and he's using one of those machines that all you do is you spin a wheel, and it's meant to help with mobility of your shoulders and elbows and stuff. It's a very low impact workout, but it's really just heartwarming. You know, people here do spend more of their lives outdoors, and to take advantage of getting your exercise outside just seems so practical to me. Not that I've done it, let me tell you, but a lot of people do. On the left is a little garden center. I'm gonna go there one of these days and see what they have, but today wasn't feeling it. We're coming into Pedro Galejo, and on the right is Baños del Carmen. We're gonna stop there at the beach shortly, and this is the next section of Malaga beyond the Centro. It's a popular area because it's a little bit quieter than the Centro, and there's some nice beaches along here and good beachside restaurants. I honestly haven't spent really any time in this part of town. We just haven't explored these areas of Malaga too much yet. But now that I have my bike, you never know, it's easier to get here, and it's not very far. We're only 22 minutes into the video, so not very far along. The bike lane ends right here, which is why I haven't gone past this point so far with my bicycle, because here the lane on the right is meant to be shared with bikes, so the cars are required to yield to bicycles, but it still makes me a little uncomfortable. I'll eventually get used to it, but I'm just not there yet. As I get more comfortable on my bike, I'm sure I will venture farther along. So now we're stopping at the Baños del Carmen beach, Playa de Baños del Carmen, I believe it's called. And this is a neat little spot. I had never been here before until a couple of weeks ago when I checked it out the first time. Trevor and I came along here. He doesn't have a bicycle, but he does have an electric scooter. So we've gone out a few times together where he scooters and I bicycle. It's just really neat here. The trees are so different and the landscape is really different. On this day, there's a few people here. It seems like the vibe I'm getting in this beach is a little bit of kind of a hippie haven. You see that there's a couple of hammocks set up amongst the trees, and there's a lot of people with dreadlocks and just like alternative looking people. And so it seems like this might be a place where they hang out. The beach here is a lot rockier and not very sandy. I think it's just this small section, because I've heard as you go a little farther east, the beaches get nicer than the ones close to the Centro, but along this section it's fairly rocky and not a lot of sand. But it's still really nice, and it's kind of an inlet. It seems just like a totally different vibe. I'm still getting used to filming in public, so I didn't take any footage down right by the beach, but this is an overview of the area from the road. It's such a pretty spot. So I stuck around here for a few minutes just to see what was happening, and then I decided to head back out and turn around and go back the other direction. And as you'll see coming up, I decided to stop for a little relaxing break on the beach, which was my primary reason for going out today, besides filming this video, of course. You'll see a lot of people on these electric scooters. It's a big controversy in Malaga. These are the rental ones. There's various companies that provide them. Tier, Dot, Bolt, I think. There's I think 5 different companies. So basically they're available on the street corner in a lot of places. You can just rent them through an app and away you go. The idea is really good. It's a good way to get around, but the issue is that typically they're more so used by tourists, at least the rental ones are. And it's convenient, but they don't always understand the rules of the road. Unfortunately, a lot of times people are drinking or under the influence in some way, so sometimes they drive like maniacs. They go on the sidewalk even though you're not allowed to ride them on the sidewalk. You have to go in the bike lanes. So I think the locals really despise them, and I have grown to despise them as well, because they can be kind of dangerous a lot of times, and especially people that aren't used to using them all the time. It's one thing to see people that own one of them and they go around town, that's their main way of commuting. That's okay. I think those people tend to be respectful. They go in the bike lanes, they follow the rules most of the time. But they can go quite fast, usually up to about 20-25 kilometers an hour. So when you consider how fast they're going, they're not wearing a helmet, and sometimes they'll pile 2 to 3 people on a scooter, which you're not supposed to do. And then they zip in and around, they'll pass you in the lanes and stuff. So they make me nervous. I think it's just because they're unpredictable, and they're a lot more agile than a bicycle. So people tend to just scoot around, and it's a little bit scary sometimes. And I've even seen people that drive 2, 3, 4 people abreast, like side by side, totally blocking a lane and expecting everyone to move out of their way. It's just so rude. And I know not everybody is like that, and I'm generalizing, but it happens more than I would like to see. And yeah, I think that they're doing a lot of things to crack down on how they're used and trying to make it safer and prevent the people from leaving scooters lying around, because that's another big problem. You've noticed maybe that I've passed a few spots which are considered to be docking stations for the scooters, and you have to return your scooter to those exact locations. You can't just drop them anywhere you please, but it still happens. And even in those parking places for scooters, a lot of times people will just leave them laying out, and they're sticking out into the middle of the lane, and it's a hazard if you're biking along at a decent speed and then there's a scooter in your way, especially after dark. It's really dangerous. So it's something that's just gonna need more regulation. There's already quite a lot of rules about it, but holding drivers or renters accountable is important as well, and maybe they're gonna start doing that more. I don't know, but it takes away from the pleasure, that's for sure. Thankfully today it's not very busy. Yeah, this view is a little bit different because we're facing back towards where I live in the center, and you can see on the left side that there's the cranes for the container ships off in the distance, and the mountains way off in Ben El Madna area, so about 10-15 kilometers down the coast. And then of course all the taller buildings as we get closer to the center. It's just really peaceful here. I don't know, you probably can't hear it, but a few times along this stretch I was just looking around thinking, oh, how is this my life? Like, it's amazing, and I really need to make a point of getting out here more. And the weather was just so perfect this day, so I was taking a lot of really big, deep, full breaths and just smelling the ocean and trying to be very present and take in the feeling that I was having of how wonderful it is, and how this is truly how I imagined life to be when we moved here, and just being really, really grateful for the fact that we were able to make this happen, and this is my home now. On the left you can see sunbeds on the beach, so some of the Chiringuitos have their own sunbeds for rent. I don't know how much they are. I want to say usually around €7 for a regular sunbed. A lot of them are under an umbrella, which is kind of nice to get a bit of shade in the hottest part of the day. And that place in particular had double ones with a sheer canopy over the top, like very bougie looking, but I don't know what those would cost to rent, but they look super comfortable. And honestly, that sounds like my perfect kind of beach day, but I haven't done it yet. One of these days I will. Also, when you're biking along here, there's a lot of places where there's crosswalks that cross the main road, and it is my responsibility to stop at those crosswalks. That is the rule. So pedestrians do have the right of way when they're crossing the bike lane in designated areas. And that's something it took me a few trips on my bike to figure out. And I'm sorry to anybody that I breezed past and rang my bell at. But now that I know, I usually try to get out of the way or stop when there's pedestrians coming. And that's only fair because I'm moving faster than they are. And usually when they're crossing, it's when they have a crossing sign. On the right is one of the private hospitals in Malaga. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of places along here to lock up your bike. They don't have a lot of bike racks considering how many bike lanes and bikers there are. But I've seen a lot of people just lock their bikes to these kinds of railings, and I guess because it's the only option, nobody cares and that it's allowed to do that. So you'll see later I've done that here myself. I'm just biking along here, taking it all in, enjoying, and then looking for somewhere that I can stop. I knew I wanted to find a nice tree and grassy area to sit. I didn't bring my bathing suit, so I wasn't planning to go for a swim or anything, and I didn't really want to be sunbathing on the hot sand, but just somewhere to relax by the water. Yeah, so I guess I decided this is a good looking spot, and it's not very busy in this section here, and this is a good railing to lock my bike to. I just wanted somewhere that had a tiny bit of shade, and I see those trees over there looking pretty comfortable. So I got settled on the beach, and I'm under a tree with the birdies. You can hear them. It's nice because these birds are very symbolic in Malaga, and there's so many of them. They are parakeets, and if you go on the Wikipedia listing for the word parakeet, it comes up and mentions Malaga because of the high population of parakeets here. It's like an overpopulation problem, but they love to live in the palm trees, and you hear them all the time outside of my apartment. There's a big tree. Even though we're on the 16th floor, when you open the doors, you can hear them. There's my little shade for today. It's perfect because it covers my upper body so I'm not too hot. It's such a pretty day, and the water looks really calm. It would have been nice actually to go for a swim if I had brought my bathing suit. So here are the parakeets. They're such a fun looking bird to me because we just don't have birds this colorful in the wild in Canada, or at least not that I'm aware of. To me, it's such a tropical looking bird. And I brought my Kindle, and I'm in the middle of a really good book, so I threw it in my bag. Had a little read there for about 20 minutes, and then I took a little walk through the sand down to the waves. And I'm just going to stop talking for a minute because as we get closer, you'll hear the waves, and there's just nothing better than the sound of the ocean. Here I'm just playing around with my new GoPro, checking it out. It's actually a really fun little camera. Okay, so it's time to head back, and here's my beautiful bicycle locked up onto the railing. I bought a very secure lock that folds, and it attaches to that black holder thing on the frame of my bike. I wanted something nice and secure but also portable that wasn't going to be flopping around. And it seems to be doing the trick, so hopefully the thieves here are not already aware of a way to steal this. But I think if I leave my bike locked up unattended, I'm going to take my seat with me, and hopefully between the lock and the missing seat that would deter somebody. I don't know if bike thefts are a huge crime problem in Malaga, but I'd rather not find out with my brand new bicycle. I was feeling a little warmer after sitting out in the sun, but it's still not an extra hot day, so it was actually quite a perfect temperature. I really enjoy the murals that they put on the bathrooms here. They're so pretty, and it just makes what could be an ugly little brown building into a piece of art for the city. Such a good idea. On the left here, you can see that fenced area on the beach, and I believe that that is a football area. Obviously, there's nobody there playing right now, but I do see it in use fairly regularly. And there's also some playground equipment on the beach here. And then at this Chiringuito, you see there's, again, some of those rental sunbeds available, and they also have a nice grassy patch here as well, which on the weekends tends to be full of people looking for a bit of shade. I ate at this Chiringuito the other day, and it was really good. Definitely recommend. Friendly service, and it's a really good location. So you see quite a few bicycles locked up here, as well as mopeds. There's also a lot of these kioskos. They're like little kiosks along the beach where you can get refreshments and beach essentials. So now we are back at Playa Malagueta, which is the main beach in Malaga closest to the centro. And the differentiation between Malagueta and Coletta is there is a breakwater that extends out from the beach, and that's to help keep the waves down and such, but it sort of breaks the two beaches apart, even though they're fairly similar. But Malagueta tends to be a more shallow beach. There's an app called Info Medusa, so if you're coming to Malaga, it's useful to download this if you want to go to the beach. It's an app that's used for reporting the temperature of the water, the wave conditions, and jellyfish. So the main purpose is the jellyfish reporting. And last summer was really bad for jellyfish, and they're predicting it could be again this year. So it's nice to have that app so that you can check before you plan to go to the beach and see what the conditions are. If swimming is important for you, it's good to have that information. I believe it's crowdsourced information as well. So far, I haven't seen any jellyfish. Not that I've been to the beach a whole lot, but when I was swimming yesterday, it was chilly, but the water conditions were really good, and we didn't see any jellyfish at all. And growing up on the ocean as a child, I'm aware that a lot of times it just depends on the tides and the direction of the wind, whether the jellyfish are being brought into the shore more. The wind has picked up a little bit. You can hear it on the microphone on my camera a little bit more. I'm debating whether I want to get a separate audio microphone or something, but I haven't done that yet. Here's some fun people just walking in the bike lane. Gotta ring my bell and pass them, but I thought, might as well just let them know. Maybe they don't realize. And here we are back to the intersection to cross over and return up to Paseo Redding to cut across the city. So off we go again, and here I am very precariously making my way across. You can tell I'm a little wobbly because of the way my basket is moving. But it's really difficult to bike at very, very slow speeds, and I'm not super steady on my bike just yet. I should have just gotten off and walked it across. That would have been easier, but I just tried to make it across, and this guy wasn't understanding what those yellow lines are for. Back through the city. So we've been here before. I don't need to give a lot of commentary. There's a few spots where there's quite a bump. Oh, I missed the bike lane. Yep, here's where it's not very obvious, and I kind of went off in the wrong direction. There's an example of one of the scooters right in the bike lane. Like, come on, people. Why would you just throw your scooter there when you're done with it? At least park it. If you drive up to a mall in your car, are you just going to pull up to the front door and abandon your car there? No, of course not. Well, maybe some people, but definitely not most people. There's a few restaurants and things along this street, but it's pretty quiet here because it is now siesta time, so most independent businesses close for 3 to 4 hours in the afternoon, and this is not in the centro, it's off to the side, so you'll see more of that kind of local business vibe here that does do the siesta. This is about the hilliest spot on my entire bike ride, and it's not even much of a hill, but it is a slow incline. So I had to gear down and start pedaling a little harder, but it's good because it's so flat here. I don't really get my heart rate going too much when I'm cycling, so I actually don't mind having these little sections where I can get my heart rate up a little bit and burn a few extra calories. Along here it's really narrow, but it's nice to have a separate space to bicycle. I see DHL going there on their bike as well. And he's just going right down the middle. But you know what? He's earned the right because I don't even know if his bike would fit in the bike lane. There's the bullring again on the left. That kind of roundish building. And I missed it again, but on the left was La Bicicleta where I bought my bicycle. There it is. You can kind of see it 1 second, that yellow building. Such a cute little shop, and they specialize in vintage style bicycles, so it really stands out because they put some bikes on the sidewalk and you can see them from afar, and it's so cute. Okay, so I have a flashing green, so I'm just giving her, and here's my friend standing in the lane, texting, not noticing, and the light turns and she's just gonna walk in the red lane. And there was a woman, I don't think you could see, but coming towards us, and when I dinged my bell, the woman ahead of me didn't clue in at all, but the woman walking in the other direction actually told her, watch out for the bike lane. And honestly, I just could have stopped and kissed that woman. I was so thankful that other people were trying to educate. It makes me wonder if she rides a bicycle. This is a really pretty section too. So this is, again, the same area that we went through before. I'm just backtracking now, but it always looks a little different from the other angle. And from this sidewalk, we kind of veer a tight right and then onto the dedicated bike lane. On the right here is a park that is kind of adjacent to Malaga City Hall. And I cannot think what the name of it is, but it's a beautiful spot that it's known for its rose gardens and beautiful bushes, and there's a couple of water fountains there, and there's a statue. It's a really pretty place to check out. My camera was slowly pointing downward as I went over a bump, but I think here in a second I noticed and fixed it, so sorry for the angle here, but you get a nice view of my cute little basket. Super practical because I always travel heavy with a big bag of stuff, so I definitely needed that. And I have saddlebags for the back of my bike as well, but I didn't need them today. On the right here is Malaga University. Not that you can see it, but it's one of their buildings. And slowly drifting down. There's the horses on the right, horse carriage. The wind is picking up as well. Ah, there we go. I fixed it. Another horse carriage. I just feel so bad for those horses walking on pavement all day, standing out in the hot sun. I know people say that they're cared for and loved, but it still feels cruel to me. However, if I wasn't concerned for animal welfare, it is actually kind of a nice idea to go for a horse ride, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And we're back in the rainforest. Not really, but as I said before, it kind of feels like that. It's such a nice little spot. I love all the monsteras. I have a massive monstera in our apartment, and it's my baby. And it recently had some thrips. It's like a disease, bugs infestation, and I've been dealing with trying to get rid of that, and I hope the plant survives because she's my baby. I love that monsteras can grow in the natural environment here. It's beautiful. So here I came on a red light, so I stopped, and this red car was not sure what they were trying to do. They decided, nope, wrong direction, so they just started backing up and did a U-turn. It's kind of strange, but I guess if there's no cars coming, then why not? And again we go here. So we're at Calle Molina Larios at the bottom, which is the street that the Malaga Cathedral is on. You can't see it obviously because I'm going away from it, but yep, walk in the lane with your baby, good idea. Okay, that's a tricky spot because there's a crosswalk right there, and even myself, I find it's hard to get across and then not walk in the bike lane, so I'm a little bit forgiving, but also dinging my bell because I didn't want to run people over. This is, on the right, you can't really see it, but we are at Calle Larios, which is the iconic main street in the Centro, and it's a beautiful spot to walk. But we're going to carry on forward through Alameda Principal. Again, we're on this initial stretch where it's not a very well marked bike lane, so me and everyone else just pushing our way through the crowds. It's not as busy right now, but it's a little bit stressful to go through this part. Along here is where most of the bus stops are. It's a main thoroughfare through Malaga, and on the right there's restaurants and stores. Same on the left. And on the left, on the other side of the road, is Florist Row. I don't know if that's the official name, but that's what I've dubbed it. I walk by it all the time, and it's just a bunch of kiosks along the sidewalk that sell flowers. And I've bought flowers there many a time. It's a great little spot to have nearby because it makes it so beautiful, and it's really nice to have access to fresh flowers pretty cheaply. Still red light, but there was nobody coming, so I decided to give her. Also, the other problem with this bike lane that wasn't very well thought through is that it's right beside the Estanco, which is the kiosk where you can buy cigarettes and bus tickets. And so anybody that's a patron of that business is going to automatically be standing in the bike lane. There's no way around it. And the buses are right here as well. So it just means that there's a big congestion of people just doing life, and the bikes have to pass right through that. So I don't know that it was very well designed. And additionally, you'll notice that on the right, it's in the sun. So on a really hot day, of course, people are going to want to walk in the shade. So they do that because they don't know it's a bike lane because it's not very well labeled. We are almost in Soho, so I think this is where I will end up leaving you, but I really want to say thank you so much. If you're still watching 49 minutes into this video, I truly appreciate it. If you enjoyed this kind of content, I would love it for you to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment and let me know, because I can definitely make more of these videos. They're some of the easier ones to make, and it was really fun. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to be alerted when I post new videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Adios, amigos.